Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we are here for the finale of our F1 Manager Ferrari career mode. Yes, it's been 22 long races over the course of the campaign, but we're finally here in Abu Dhabi for the season finale. Of course, if you missed out on the last video from Brazil that went live a few days ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But yeah, today we return Yas Marina, of course, the home of many great championship deciders in the past, but sadly this weekend, it won't quite be the same story. Charles Leclerc walks into this weekend a 59-point lead over his teammate Carlos Sainz. Even if there was double points available, Charles Leclerc has done enough, of course, after the disaster that was Sainz's Brazilian GP last weekend. Like I said, it was a bit chaotic, it was a bit of carnage. Some of you gave me a bit of stick for not being happy with Carlos that weekend, but yeah, a thorough bottle job coming from the Spaniard there really did cost him a slim but still realistic chance at the world title last time out there. Further down the rostrum, though, there are still a few battles going on to watch out for. George Russell, Valtteri Bottas separated by 1 point as we head into Abu Dhabi. Of course, the battle of Mercedes' new driver versus their old driver, and Bottas, of course, got a podium last time out as well, so certainly comes into this weekend quite strong there. Further down the order, though, I mean, looking around, there's still a few positions that if someone got a really good result, they could get the jump on another car there. And constructors-wise as well, the big battle, Alfa Romeo versus Alpine there in the battle for P4, best of the midfielders. That one I'm very, very excited to see who will come out on top there. Alfa Romeo have just been so strong over the last couple of weekends. But before we head, though, into Abu Dhabi, of course, we've just got a final few little driver perk upgrades to do there. Charles Leclerc still 89 overall. You can see his lowest stat, 78 on adaptability and defending there. Carlos Sainz just 1 rating point below. He's actually got a much better rounded stat there. It makes me chuckle, the fact that Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator, and one of his weakest stats is still smoothness on F1 Manager. That only trumps his reactions, so yeah, pretty good, though, as we head towards Abu Dhabi, of course. As I've mentioned before, you know, we're not going to be racing with Ferrari next season. We're going to be jumping over to a different time. I'm going to be putting a poll out over the next couple of days. We're going to take a week or so away from F1 Manager, really sort of smash out my team, and then also the Haas Road to Glory is coming back as well at the end of this week. So definitely want to get yourself subscribed for more Formula 1 related content, of course. Getting very close now to 90,000 subscribers at the time of recording this. So, you know, if you're not already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed for more F1 22 and F1 Manager content, of course. But yeah, let's get into it, though. Abu Dhabi, final race of the year. The pressure is off. We can just enjoy it. Let's see how things go down.
We're at Yas Island in Abu Dhabi for the Formula 1 Grand Prix. The Yas Marina circuit was completed in 2009, and we've seen a fair share of celebration and commiseration over the years since then. The scenery may be spectacular, but this weekend, all eyes will be on the track. There's a reason why the Yas Marina circuit is used as a test track. The long straights put engine power through its paces, while the twists and bends make medium speed downforce just as important at this challenging circuit. This is it. We're down to the last few races of the season, and it's time for that final push. Who will be crowned champion at the end of it all? We'll find out soon enough. The competition is on.
Right, well, here we are then in Abu Dhabi, and of course, luckily, being in the desert, we don't tend to find too much rain around this venue. But, you know, I've said it so many times this season, I cannot thank you guys enough for all the tips and tricks when it comes to setting up the car, everything like that. Of course, all the little nuances that F1 Manager has got inside it, of course. You know, you guys have been really useful, and hopefully it should be next season when we jump in with a new team, we should be able to have a pretty good run at things there. As always, though, we'll just try a few different setup tweaks here in Abu Dhabi there, run some different setups on both cars, of course. Still trying to utilise the old components in this final race weekend of the year, and apparently Sainz wants a much slower car down the straights than Charles Leclerc, so a bit interesting there from the Spaniard. Often as well, I've noticed he needs one more lap to be able to give you full feedback in the practice sessions as well. So yeah, we'll head out though into free practice here from Abu Dhabi. I've just realised I don't think I've put the right car parts on. And literally as I was talking about it, I've managed to mess that up. So well done, Matt. They're going out with some pretty clean components this weekend. we might end up taking some penalties and watching them start from the back. Who really knows? I mean, this is quite cool, of course, on F1 Manager. Get to watch both of our cars heading out under the pit lane tunnel. I kind of forgot about that. You know, it's weird now. I remember when this pit lane came into Formula 1, what, nearly 15 years ago now, which makes me feel very, very old. It was incredibly cool then, and now, of course, it's kind of just normal, but it's still quite fun to see on different games there. As already, free practice 1, and less than a minute in, Sainz and Leclerc already decided they're going to duke it out then, apparently. It's what we love to see, as long as they don't do what they did at Kota. Someone's ran into issues in free practice. Let's have a look who that's gonna be. And I can't see anyone stopped on the circuit. Yuki Tsunoda, turn 16. Please don't say he's Latifi'd it. No, next corner. Very odd place to try and lose it. Final corner, in fact, even apparently. Oh, very, very wide there. Sometimes you find if you hit the curb on the outside, you bottom out. And that's what goes on. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda just pushing the limits early on in the weekend. And there we go. Charles Leclerc immediately quite happy with the car. That's a good improvement. That's what we like to hear. Hopefully Sainz will give us similar feedback, but of course now we can bring... Oh no, Leclerc's coming in anyway, so that's pretty good timing actually. Sainz not happy with something. What on earth's he managed there? Hopefully we'll get a replay of that one, because I must have missed that one watching Charles Leclerc. Sainz spins down at turn 6. Was that on throttle or on the brakes? Side by side one of the Alpha Tower is. Just looped it around there. Don't know if there was a tiny bit of contact, but yeah, Sainz. It's free practice 1, mate. Don't worry about that too much. Perhaps he's feeling the pressure after I roasted him last weekend. Charles Leclerc still very, very happy then with the car, as we've got just over 15 minutes left of the session. Fastest as well, a 10th clear of his teammate Carlos Sainz. So yeah, after a couple of issues early on, back out there once more, trying just to get more and more data for us. Ooh, Lewis Hamilton, final race of the year. What on earth's Lewis done then? Down somewhere around the track. Hit the wall at turn 16. Did he do what Yuki Tsunoda did a bit earlier on in the session then? Obviously Hamilton, I'm sure, well, very mixed emotions for Hamilton around the Abu Dhabi circuit. I mean, he's come into so many championship deciders around this venue, but this time round it has not gone his way. Hamilton loses the front wing, but yeah, I mean, he's, like I said, he hasn't got much to battle for this weekend. He can sit pretty comfy in P5 overall. Well, there we go then, the end of free... Charles Leclerc not happy apparently. It's still not happy apparently in the background there, but end of free practice here from Abu Dhabi. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz fastest, as we've seen so many times this year there, but Bottas is genuinely a front row threat at the moment. Half a second away at the end of free practice there, ahead of Fernando Alonso. Sergio Perez as well on the medium tyres there, 6/10 back, but yeah, good successful session. We've got both cars pretty well dialed in as well. Let's get into qualifying one final time this year. Can we try and get one more pole? Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like.
Hello, and thank you for joining us as our race weekend unfolds. Free practice has concluded and qualifying awaits. Teams will be taking the data they've gathered from free practice into qualifying today, as they try to give themselves the best chance possible going into tomorrow's race. But focus right now needs to be on the task at hand, setting the best lap time possible and working their way up the grid. There's not much left to say, so let's get into it.
Right, well, quite looking forward to it then. Final race weekend of the year here in Abu Dhabi, of course. It's kind of weird, the fact there's no pressure whatsoever. Neither of our drivers can lose or gain a place in the championship. I'm sure if something goes wrong in the race, I will still worry about it, but we could just sit back and relax for the next hour and a half or so on F1 Manager, but you know how it is. We want to try and watch one more final glorious pole lap. Whether it comes from Leclerc or Sainz, hopefully we'll make it 21 out of 22 pole positions this year. Here we go then, Charles Leclerc, new Formula 1 World Champion, then rounding the final corner, about to attack the Abu Dhabi circuit, then swing the car out of the final right-hander there. You can see the moon up, down in towards turn 1 there. Nice and easy on the brakes. 5th gear there, of course. Don't really want to use the curb too much on the outside. Avoid the curb through turn 2. It'll unsettle the car through the completely flat there. Just hanging on through turn 3 from Charles Leclerc. Down the hill in towards the newly configured hairpin there. You can see very, very difficult actually to spot your apex. I never quite know whether you want to hit the apex quite early into the corner or whether you want to try and late apex it and get the huge run up the back straight there. One of the longest straights in Formula 1 nowadays, of course, incredibly long when it was first introduced to the sport. They're breaking at the 100-metre board as Esteban Ocon sets the benchmark on a 1:24.5 there. Thread the needle through the next couple of corners as we head back out onto the second of the back straights. Open up the DRS once more. Verstappen there, only a couple of tenths quicker than the Alpine, and now we get in towards Sector 3, the huge flowing left-hander that makes up the first corner of this final sector. They're actually taking a lot of curb from Charles Leclerc this time around. We'll just monitor the gaps between him and Sainz. There are Sainz actually provisionally faster in Sector 1 by 8 thousandths of a second. They set identical times in Q2. There is never anything to separate our two drivers there. As down in towards the final couple of corners we go, riding still with Charles Leclerc. Will it be provisional pole position here in Abu Dhabi at the end of the first runs? Down towards the line, it's going to be a 24.0, 23.9 even, I should say, from Charles Leclerc there. So a very, very good lap time from the young Monegasque driver there. Of course, no stranger to pole position by the end of this season. But Carlos Sainz does go faster, 36 thousandths of a second clear of Charles Leclerc at the end of the first run. So Leclerc, we saw it so often during the first half of the year under a lot of pressure late on in the session, and he often delivered. Are we going to see that once more before the season's out? Right, well, Charles Leclerc might have a little bit of traffic to try and deal with on these final runs, but it's going to be quite tight for Sainz whether he's going to be able to try and get this final run on the board there. I mean, the new Abu Dhabi circuit's so much faster, so much better than its previous iterations. We'll ride with Charles Leclerc early on in the lap, and then we'll switch over to the Spaniard there, depending on how much time they're both improving. 0.03 of a second between our two cars, 4 tenths back to Max Verstappen behind there. George Russell, fantastic first run to put him up into P4 there ahead of Alonso and Bottas. And yeah, Sergio Perez really struggling, as we've seen, the likes of Mercedes, Alpine and Alfa Romeo get quicker and quicker towards the end of the year. It has often meant that our Ferrari cars are still just clear at the front, but it has then meant that Red Bull sometimes have kind of been tripped over and haven't really been able to hamper us as much as they would have wanted there. As Charles Leclerc, purple once more through the first sector. Will Sainz be able to match that time there as an 18.52 up against an 18.51, 5 thousandths of a second between both of our cars, but we will stay with our new Formula 1 World Champion as he heads through the second half of the lap here. You can just see we're going to try and sit on Charles Leclerc's, really his shoulder as we head in towards the final few corners of this lap there, through what used to be quite a tricky triple right-hand apex. Of course, even more difficult now because you're carrying so much more speed in through the first couple of parts there. Final few turns then under the hotel. Max Verstappen improves. He'll stay P3, so it should be one of our cars on pole position then. Why do they keep telling me this late on in the year there? Alonso stays P5, Bottas stays in P6, Russell will hang on to P4 there, does improve once more. Charles Leclerc though, 23.7 right towards the end of the session there. He's a tenth and a half up on Carlos Sainz, but will the Spaniard be able to make the difference as he heads through the final couple of corners? Of course, no World Championship available to him now, but I'm sure it would still be nice to sneak one more pole position away between now and the end of the year. Round in the final corner, will it be Sainz? Will it be Leclerc on pole position up towards the line? I think it's Sainz. No, it's not. 1,000th of a second between our two drivers there at the end of qualifying. And if that doesn't tell you how little there is to separate these two when they're on their A game, that is a perfect example there. 23.765 up against a 23.766. That's what it's been like throughout most of the campaign. But it is a front row lockout for the final time this year here in Abu Dhabi. Let's get into it though. Yas Marina, no pressure. Let's just go out there and have fun. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
It's race day, and final preparations are underway.
Ferrari performed brilliantly during qualifying and will be very pleased with their grid positions. But the challenge for them will be to keep the momentum going during the race. This weekend, Red Bull displayed real promise during qualifying, but will they fulfill that potential by the time they reach the checkered flag? And the weather is sunny here today, apart from a few clouds. Let's hope they remain scattered on the horizon.
And teams will have to make tough split-second decisions here if they're going to succeed. An exhilarating race lies ahead of us with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Well, I can't believe for one final time we will wear the red hat of Ferrari, but 58 laps ahead of us though around the Abu Dhabi circuit here tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. Like I said, hopefully we can finish the year with a bang. Of course, so many wins over the course of the campaign as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we can give the team one more here in Abu Dhabi there. We're going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to put both drivers on Strat A. As always, I'm not going to try and interfere with them too much as the race goes on, at least with each other. We might try and get them to pull away from the other cars behind, but yeah, we'll wait and see as to how things goes. Really not much room for spare fuel, though, in the final race weekend of the year, so we are going to have to be a little bit careful of that as well. But yeah, let's get into it, though. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix time. Let's try and get one final win.
The drivers are lined up tonight under mostly clear skies. And there is Charles Leclerc. They're starting today at the head of the pack, but will they be able to stay there? And further back, there's Sainz. They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. And we're just moments away now. Anything could happen. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go.
Well, clean, tidy start then by both of our drivers as we head down in towards someone there. Leclerc actually comfortably ahead of Carlos Sainz by the first corner there. Max Verstappen under pressure from George Russell and Fernando Alonso further behind, but Charles Leclerc leads as we head out of the first couple of turns here. But often we've said that in recent races, and Sainz immediately trying to come on the offensive there. Leclerc will just sit the car a car length on the inside as we head down in towards the hairpin for the first time here tonight. But Charles Leclerc has done everything he needed to off the start there. Having a quick look at the race strategies, it looks like we've got a big split between medium and soft compound tyres there. As you can see, Sergio Perez under a bit of pressure there, almost 3 wide further back as everyone trying to pick up the spoils early on in this Grand Prix. Here goes, I think that's Esteban Ocon up the inside of Sergio Perez there, 3 wide down at the hairpin. Hamilton just has to back out of it as Bottas still on the inside off the corner there. This is fantastic racing, and Hamilton immediately is going to get the best view of this as they're still somehow 3 wide off the corner there. Surely Alonso on the inside is going to be able to try and capitalise. Sorry, Ocon is going to be able to capitalise as we head in towards the next corner there. Has to take a lot of curb, but Sergio Perez down the middle. Bottas gets hung out to dry off the corner there. He'll move back down into P8 then of the race, but Perez will somehow... No, he won't. Look at Bottas again, trying to sneak up the inside there. That is an audacious move from the Flying Finn, of course. The podium last weekend, perhaps he's feeling very motivated and very confident heading into this final race of the year. Esteban Ocon gets hung out to dry through the penultimate corner there, and Bottas will say thank you very much. Charles Leclerc leads, though, at the end of lap 1, ahead of Carlos Sainz. Just behind him still is already pulling away a little bit of a gap from Max Verstappen behind us there. We might get both cars just to push on a little bit early on in this race there just to make sure that we can break out the DRS range of the cars behind. So we'll let Leclerc go on the battery now, and then once he's built up a little bit of a gap, we'll let Carlos Sainz do the same thing there. As, yeah, Russell really hounding Max Verstappen early on in this Grand Prix there. They're both on medium tyres, so it's not like Russell has got an advantage in that department, but George Russell instantly, though, having a look to the inside of Max Verstappen as we head up the back straight. Maybe he's going to try and do what the Dutchman attempted to do to Lewis Hamilton last year here in Abu Dhabi. Thinks better of it into the corner. Fernando Alonso just waiting in the wings a little bit further behind. But, I mean, yeah, that has worked out beautifully for us at the start of the Grand Prix there. 1.2 seconds clear of the Dutchman as we head down the next straightaway there. You can see a lot of cars still duking out a little bit further back there. Of course, one of the other big battles, Lando Norris, Kevin Magnussen. Lando needs P8 tonight if he wants to jump K-Mag in the World Championship. But in terms of Alfa Romeo versus Alpine, currently, Alpine would do enough. They head into this one with a 5-point lead. Bottas needs a really, really good race here as Zhou Guanyu just hasn't quite been able to deliver in a similar style. But coming towards the end of lap 2, still nip and tuck between our two cars at the front of the field, but Charles Leclerc leads the way.
And you can use DRS.
Oh no! What's Leclerc done? Really? Oh no! 2 races in a row. What's Leclerc done down at turn 1 there? Has he just missed his braking point? He was not under much pressure from Sainz, just couldn't screw off the speed. Nudges the wall. I don't know if he got away without damage there. Why he doesn't just get on with it, I don't really know. But is that front wing damage then for Charles Leclerc early on in this race? I cannot believe that. 2 races in a row now, one of our cars has bottled it early on. I think the front wing, we got minor damage on the front wing there, so we are going to have to box onto a set of hard compound tyres. How do we just confirm that we're going to change the front wing there as well? There we go. No point boxing him now if we're not going to change the front wing there. But Charles Leclerc, I cannot believe that. He's bottled it. Now I guess we get a good idea as to whether he's going to be able to slice and dice his way through the field in a way that Carlos Sainz couldn't last weekend. But 2 races in a row now at the end of the year, both of our cars have bottled it. Into the pits then Charles Leclerc comes as we start lap 4 of this race. Just going to get Sainz to try and push on a little bit at the front of the field. Just make sure, you know, he's comfortable ahead of Verstappen and George Russell. If he can build up sort of a 3-second lead or so. Of course, no pressure trying to get the tyres on the car because we've got to sort out the new front wing. Bit of an interesting camera angle there from F1 Manager. But yeah, Charles Leclerc now going to be a long, long way back behind the rest of the field there. George Russell up into P2 ahead of Fernando Alonso there. So Max Verstappen going backwards at the moment, trying to get his elbows out with the Spaniard, as I wanted to see Leclerc head out of the pit lane. But yeah, this works out quite nicely for both Sainz and George then, if Verstappen and Alonso are going to battle behind them. But yeah, gearbox just showing a bit of wear down on Carlos Sainz's car. That should be alright to see us through to the end of the Grand Prix. 29%. It's not going to be pretty, but it is going to be comfortable to see him to the checkered flag there. And yeah, like I said, if we can just build up sort of a 3 or 4 second lead over George Russell, he can monitor things at the front. But yeah, Leclerc, he has got a mountain to climb. 26 seconds back behind Nicholas Latifi. That's probably going to be at least a few laps to recover. Got no idea what's going on between these 3 cars behind, but Alonso now up at a P2 ahead of Max Verstappen and George Russell. I guess the DRS is just incredibly potent around this venue, but Alfa Romeo will be hating seeing this from Alonso. I'm loving it because, of course, the Spaniard is just giving his fellow Spaniard an even bigger lead at the front of the field there, as Verstappen now back up the inside of Fernando Alonso. They're going to drag race out of the chicane there halfway down the back straight, and I think Alonso somehow that time around picked up the DRS off of Max Verstappen, so he's going to be comfortably clear down into the braking zone. But it does mean Sainz now over 2 seconds clear at the front. He's just got to keep pushing early on and just control the pace there, as I think Lando Norris causing a big train. No, he's not, sorry. It's Daniel Ricciardo causing a train at the rear of the field. They're duking out with the Aston Martins and the Williams. What a disappointing year it's been for Danny Rick, as here comes Sebastian Vettel up the inside of the Australian there. The Haas cars both in a bit of no man's land with Yuki Tsunoda. Plenty going on, though, early on in this Abu Dhabi season finale. Well, we can't be getting too far away then from the soft compound runners starting to make their pit stops here. Ocon 47% on those tyres. Hamilton about 10% higher there. So I'm guessing he started on a fresh set. Esteban Ocon hasn't. But yeah, Leclerc, though, just on those on those hard tyres, he's just not making much progress. He's losing time to Sainz at the front of the field there. He might have to go into a two-stop strategy, but he's still 12 seconds behind Alex Albon now, who's in P19. As Sainz, 2.5 seconds clear of Alonso at the front. He is just controlling things. Cool, calm and collected. Oh, so there we go. Lap 16, first cars into the pit lane there. Pretty much all of our soft compound runners. That's going to promote the likes of Zhou Guanyu up inside the top 10 here, as now finally Leclerc has latched onto the back of this group of cars behind there. Vettel and Latifi are both actually on softs as well, so I'm sure we'll see them probably dive into the pit lane very, very soon. We're going to leave Sainz out till sort of early lap 20s there. We'll go for about a 30-odd lap run on the hard tyres to the end there, and I don't know actually whether Charles Leclerc will be able to make it to the checkered flag there. Vettel, Latifi, Bottas all into the pits, but I think, yeah, for Charles Leclerc, he's going to have to try and just make inroads here on Alex Albon just in front of him. Got Albon and Lance Stroll there as we head back through turn 1. So, yeah, like I said, I think Leclerc probably going to have to two-stop this afternoon, and we'll put him onto the overtake mode, so hopefully he can try and get a run on both of these cars there. Of course, we need him to try and pick them both off pretty clean and tidy, as we'll get him on the push fuel as well. Let's lift and coast, please, mate. Try and make a move work on both of these cars, and let's see if Leclerc can make better progress through the field than Sainz was able to last weekend. That open up the deploy, open up the rear wing as well as we head down the back straight. No, he isn't actually using the DRS at the moment. Alex Albon has flown past Lance Stroll. Charles Leclerc can't quite do the same yet there. Thinks about a move to the inside, but I don't think he's particularly confident on these hard compound tyres there, especially as they've had a bit of wear put through them as well. There's Lance Stroll now using the DRS. Charles Leclerc this time round is using it to the outside of the Aston Martin. Alex Albon, you cannot do that. Trying to box Leclerc into the corner here. Round the outside though, through the hairpin, 3 wide through the corner. Will Charles Leclerc be able to pull that move off? Look at that from our new Formula 1 World Champion there. Round the outside of 2 cars down at the hairpin. That was a very, very brave move from Charles Leclerc. We'll put him on the deploy just to try and break away a little bit more there. Make sure he's out of the DRS range. But what an overtake that was. Charles Leclerc, he might have made a mistake earlier on, but he has not lost any of his magic late on in the campaign there. That should be comfortable enough ahead of those cars. But again, there's a big, big gap up to the next cars up the road. As Sainz at the front of the field, they're still duking out behind him. But Sainz, yeah, just building up that gap without taking too much out of the car, which of course is very, very important because we've got to monitor that gearbox damage. Yeah, it will be fine to the checkered flag, but Sainz just sitting pretty. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1. Someone apparently has ran wide somewhere. My best guess is it's Nicholas Latifi. No, it was Carlos Sainz himself. No major issues.
Sainz is the focus here. Oh dear, dear, dear. That's far wider than they would have wanted.
He attacked the curb quite nicely. I genuinely don't see it. In fact, he pulled out half a second because of it. F1 manager logic, people. You have to love it. Charles Leclerc, then, he might be racing some cars on pit exit because Zhou Guanyu, Lando Norris, and Kevin Magnussen all into the pit lane here. He's actually going to be quite close behind Lando Norris in this race as we head down in towards the hairpin. So let's see. Cold tyres up against obviously some very, very warm scrub set. Are we going to see Leclerc try and get a run on Lando? He'll have the DRS once more there. Definitely within range this time round. But will he be able to get close enough? Of course, we know how potent the DRS can be on F1 Manager. We know how quick this Ferrari car can also be as we head down the back straight there to the outside of Lando Norris into the braking zone. Down at the chicane there. He's going to have the inside for the second part. Will he maintain the DRS though off the corner? No, he will not. Yes, he will, sorry. Pardon me. As there we go, Charles Leclerc clean around the outside of yet another car there. Back into P13 of this race, but it is going to be difficult for him to make it to the checkered flag here. So we are going to have to try and monitor things later on, or maybe he'll have to bolt on a set of soft compound tyres to get to the end there. Verstappen and Alonso both into the pit lane as well. So we're going to try and leave Sainz out for a couple more laps. But it won't be long before the Spaniard is making the pit stop. There we go, more pit stops going on then. Charles Leclerc now up back inside the top 10 of this Grand Prix, though. I think every other car pretty much in front of him has boxed apart from the top 3. So nice, yeah, they were not the only one out there still hanging on the mediums, but a 5-second lead now for Carlos. It's looking pretty good. So there we go. George Russell and Sergio Perez both have now finally dived into the pit lane, so we're going to make Sainz dive it in now onto a fresh set of the hard compound tyres. I mean, 34 laps should see him nice and easy to the end of the GP here. But yeah, very, very good race so far from Carlos Sainz, of course. So much easier when your teammate bottles it in front of you. And, of course, Leclerc had that luxury last weekend. I'd be pretty upset with both of our drivers if they continue to do that in these races. But, yeah, Charles Leclerc just monitoring the gap over Lando Norris behind. Like I said, he's probably going to have to dive it in again with sort of 15 laps to go and then bolt on a fresh set of the soft compound tyres to hopefully try and fly through the order towards the end there. I'm sort of looking at that gap behind Lewis Hamilton there. His 2.4 second stop from Carlos Sainz. He should still be out comfortably in the lead of this Grand Prix. Verstappen is probably taking a bit of time. Actually, it's going to be quite close on pit exit there. Here goes Max Verstappen then on Carlos Sainz. What is the gap going to be? Just going to bring Sainz up into deploy there for a lap or so. Just push on. The gap's still over 1 second. But Verstappen has had quite a big undercut there. Is he on a set of hard compound tyres? Yes, he is. So Verstappen has certainly gained a bit of time through that. But Sainz still leads the way. And hopefully we'll just push on a little bit further ahead. So there we go. Crossing into half distance then. Verstappen, Alonso, Russell all still going for it at the moment as the sun now has pretty much set their sky a beautiful deep orange around the Yas Marina circuit. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, like I said, still just monitoring that gap to the cars behind. He's about 10 seconds behind Perez and Gasly up the road. So I think points are still definitely available this evening, but it is going to be a case of trying to fight back towards them later on in the night. We'll just get him just to burn out some of that extra fuel. Sainz, though, probably doesn't have to worry about that at the moment, as yeah, both drivers just settling in to the second half of this race. Oh, no. No. Sainz. How? Why? What's going on? Where's Carlos Sainz? Where has he bottled it? Sainz span at turn 16. What is wrong with both of our drivers tonight? Carlos Sainz there. How have you managed that? He just has a pirouette down at the final corner. Why have both of our drivers started bottling it late on in the campaign? That now means George Russell, I think, leads the race here in Abu Dhabi. And Sainz now 10 seconds back behind those front runners. Charles Leclerc struggling as well now, apparently, on the battery behind. What's going on with Leclerc? He's got under pressure from Lando Norris as well here. As Sainz just set a new fastest lap as well, so I've got no idea what is happening at this stage of the day. But Sainz has now got his work cut out late on in the afternoon. I do not want this race victory to be snatched away from us. We can't have ran such a dominant campaign and are now struggling late on in the season. I'm going to bring Leclerc back in onto a set of medium tyres right at the end of this one, just because none of the soft tyres will probably go long enough to the end there. We may as well just get him quicker than those cars around him once more. But Sainz as well, I don't know whether it's worth boxing him onto a set of softs over the next couple of laps there. Could he make up? I don't think he can make up a pit stop advantage late on in the day. But 9 seconds back behind those cars in front, he's got his work cut out in the last 20 laps or so. I cannot believe both of our drivers have bottled it tonight. As there we go, Charles Leclerc still under pressure from Lando Norris. In fact, Lando Norris has got the jump on him again. He's between them and Zhou Guanyu there, as he's probably going to re-emerge around Daniel Ricciardo in this Grand Prix. I'm monitoring the gap there as I've got Sainz just to push on towards the front of the order. We've got to make sure he has made his way through all of those backmarker cars. There is Charles Leclerc, clean, tidy stop onto a fresh set of the medium tyres there. Should see him through to the checkered flag, and he should be out comfortably ahead of Daniel Ricciardo there. But I cannot believe it. It's gone so pear-shaped so quickly here in Abu Dhabi. We're going to have to really try and get Sainz past all those cars and then try to push on ahead there. As here goes Charles Leclerc then with Daniel Ricciardo out of the pit lane. Leclerc still a little way in front, but he has got, what, 20 seconds near enough to try and close up in 20 laps. It's going to be a big push effort from Charles Leclerc to the flag. Well, there we go then. More cars into the pit lane has re-promoted Charles Leclerc back into P12 of this Grand Prix. They're only a second behind Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda, as Bottas clearly hasn't had the afternoon he would have been after, down in P9. The highs of Brazil must immediately seem like quite a while ago there, as Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda duking out just in front. But yeah, less than 20 laps to go then here in Abu Dhabi. Sainz now less than 6 seconds behind Russell, Alonso and Verstappen, and I'm sure all of those drivers, of course, Verstappen one win this year, Alonso and George Russell, of course, neither as well, so they'll both be wanting to try and snooker away a victory, finish the year on a high. Here comes Charles Leclerc though on the AlphaTauri. We'll just bring him up into the overtake mode there. Can he have a look at the inside of the Haas? No, he cannot. So we'll just sit him back for now and we'll make him go for it down the back straight. There we go. That makes things even easier then. Mick Schumacher into the pit lane. So it should only be a matter of time then before we get past Yuki Tsunoda here, and we should be able to pull free of the AlphaTauri there, as again, just having to manage the ERS on Charles Leclerc's car there, but he's got much fresher, much quicker tyres than the AlphaTauri in front of him. Of course, he's got a much quicker car underneath him as well, so this one should be a done deal for Charles Leclerc here as we get towards the final 25% of this Abu Dhabi season finale there, to the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. This would be a power play if ever there was one once more there, and Charles Leclerc battling to get himself back inside the top 10 here in Abu Dhabi there. We've got yellow flags out in Sector 3. Someone else has had issues. Don't know who's ran wide there. Luckily, it's not Carlos Sainz. Once again, as that gap now dips below 5 seconds. Kevin Magnussen running wide there. So what's K-Mag done late on in the day? That's not Sector 3, and he's used that curb quite appropriately, is what he's done. Leclerc, stop doing that, please. Who's run wide? Was it Charles Leclerc? I thought it was Leclerc. I saw Leclerc run wide there. Was it not Charles? It was Charles Leclerc there. Again, runs wide down at turn 16. I don't think it was too badly this time round. No, not as badly as we've seen from other cars. Just exploring the track limits there with just over 10 laps to go of the race. But Sainz, yeah, the gap between him and the top 3 now under 4 seconds, as you can now see. But they're still duking out. This is what we want to see. Fernando Alonso, George Russell, Max Verstappen all still battling it out here. It is going to be a late race scrap, and I'm hoping we can just time Sainz so he can sneak his way back through, as this surely is not doing any of these 3 favours. Right, 5 laps to go then. I'm just going to get Sainz to try and push on the ERS there, as I think those top 3 cars are starting to do it a little bit more against each other as well there. He's still got a little bit of spare fuel as well. We just need to try and get within the DRS range, spend a couple of laps recharging the pack, and then hopefully with sort of 2 laps to go, we'll really try and just slice our way through these 3 cars there. But yeah, the gap to Sainz there just seems to stagnate a little bit more. Charles Leclerc still sat in no man's land in P10, so it's quite clear that both of our cars have struggled to carve their way back through the rosters over the last couple of weekends. But Sainz, I'm still expecting a win from you, mate, as George Russell, 5 laps to go here, still leading the way. Oh, big shunt somewhere. Who's got issues? Latifi. Oh, it's the back markers. What have the back markers done to each other then? Oh, don't say Latifi. Oh, no, he's not bottled it where we expect him. Panic averted for Nicholas Latifi late on in the day. Right, here we go then. 3 laps to go of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Now Sainz tucked up inside the DRS of the cars in front of him. We have got 4 cars, 4 teams, 4 different power units battling it out inside the final 3 laps then here in Abu Dhabi. None, of course, for a championship. That's all been decided a long time ago, but imagine if we had both Leclerc and Sainz still trying to duke it out for the crown, both battling at the front of the field there. Charles Leclerc looks like he's going to sit pretty comfortable in P10 then at the end of the season, but not quite the result any of us would have wanted there, as we've just got to make sure that Sainz stays within the range of the cars in front there. What is the tyre wear looking like on those cars? No one is particularly comfortable, but it is George Russell with the upper hand in terms of tyre life at the moment. So just again, like I said, got to make sure we stay within the DRS range of those cars in front. George Russell, will he be able to get a run on Fernando Alonso as we head up the back straight once more there? Verstappen trying to go on the offensive on the Mercedes here as he has a look to the outside, and I think, yeah, with 2 laps to go, when I have to tell Sainz just to go for it in this Grand Prix. There is George Russell around the outside of Fernando Alonso once more there. Verstappen once again waiting in the wings just behind there. Sainz probably still got the best seat in the house and all. This is yellow flags out. Someone else has ran wide somewhere around the circuit, but to be honest, I really don't care at the moment. We had a crash on the circuit, yellow flags out late on in the night. I think that might be Mick Schumacher, who's managed to get the car back to the pit lane. Esteban Ocon apparently has gone off the circuit somewhere down at turn 5. Was there contact with Pierre Gasly just behind him? Of course, teammates in real life 2023. No, there's not. And Esteban Ocon, a huge high-speed crash there down at the hairpin. Think he's been able to keep that car going, but that should promote Charles Leclerc then into P9 of this race very, very late on in the night. The sun's setting on the F1 season. Will it be Fernando Alonso taking an unlikely victory for Alpine? Could it be George Russell getting his first victory in Formula 1? Could it be Verstappen, just like he managed in 2020, stealing away the final race victory of the year, or of course last year in 2021 as well? Or can Carlos Sainz just continue to try and fight his way back through there? He's got a little bit of battery left in the pack. We're still just trying to save it up as best as possible, but he's not been particularly brilliant They're trying to just save a bit more battery at the moment. One more lap to go after this one. We're going to just tell him to go on the full deploy, the full send here as George Russell once more surely going to be able to get a run on Fernando Alonso here. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to wait any longer. Let's put Sainz up onto the deploy there. Here goes George Russell to the outside of Fernando Alonso once more. Lap and a half to go, remember, of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And you can just see Verstappen trying to just sit there, wait, and find an opportunity as well. There, Sainz is on full push mode behind them. Can he try and sneak his way into this battle as well? We've got more yellow flags out. Someone else has got issues late on in the day. George Russell there. Oh, moves one way, moves the other there. Sergio Perez having issues. Here comes Sainz. Up the inside though, down in towards the hairpin. Carlos Sainz can't quite make it happen this time round, but he will get the move on George Russell. So Carlos Sainz there to the outside of the Mercedes. All this is doing though is giving Fernando Alonso a little bit of time to try and break free at the front of the field there. We'll have to bring Sainz back down onto the harvest as he tries just to save a little bit of battery through the final couple of corners there. Carlos Sainz though back into the podium places. George Russell though still waiting on his gearbox. There's one more lap to go. And Fernando Alonso, against all the odds, leads the way here in Abu Dhabi. Max Verstappen going to try and continue to apply the pressure. Carlos Sainz just a little bit further back. We're going to bring him back up onto the full deploy on this final lap. And all we can really hope for is that Verstappen gets a run on Alonso down the back straight. We can somehow watch those two go side by side and switch back the pair of them off of the chicane here. That is the goal. That is the aim on the final lap of this race there. Will Fernando Alonso, the wily old fox himself, be able to hang on? Here comes Sainz though, to the inside of Max Verstappen. He's just got so much more top end speed there. They're going to be drag racing as they get towards Fernando Alonso. Their big move late on from Fernando, but Sainz down the middle, 3 wide on the final lap of the year. They're so close to contact between all three of them, but Verstappen makes the move into the lead. Will Sainz get the DRS off the corner there? Will he be able to try and get a run on the Dutchman on this final lap here? This is crazy scenes here in Abu Dhabi to the outside of Max Verstappen where he made the move work for his championship last year. The Dutchman loses the place this weekend. Carlos Sainz takes the lead. He was 3rd place heading into the final lap of this Abu Dhabi season finale there. We're going to bring him back down. He doesn't need to push anymore. That should hopefully be enough here. And 2 years in a row, there have been fireworks in Abu Dhabi, rounding the final couple of corners of the Abu Dhabi GP. Sainz bottled it earlier on, but he will get Ferrari one last victory before the season out. Carlos Sainz wins here in the season ender.
And Sainz crosses the line first. He's taken the win. What a fantastic result for Carlos Sainz. What a beautiful sight that is on the podium, and a true crowning achievement for everyone involved. And with that, the Sainz name remains engraved in F1 history. You've got to say it was a solid drive from all three of them up there. A fantastic showcase for Formula One. Ferrari had a very good race, proving they're definitely a team to contend with.
Indeed, the team has demonstrated technical skill as well as a great deal of heart. They can be really proud of their efforts this weekend.
After an intense weekend, the team ends in 1st place in the constructor standings.
And that's it for this season of Formula One. The teams will be working hard in the break, gearing up for another year of thrilling F1 action.
There we are then, the end of the season, and I mean, what a championship finale that was. Got a little bit dramatic, a little bit chaotic towards the end. I did honestly think for a brief moment there that Fernando Alonso might finish the year with a win for Alpine, but George Russell, I'm sure, gutted to finish P4 there after battling it out, not even getting a silverware come the checkered flag there. Remember, he didn't get a trophy, and yet it was a 2nd of the race victory there. But Carlos Sainz takes home the dub ahead of Max Verstappen there and Fernando Alonso. 2 Spaniards on the podium, I think for the first time ever in Formula 1, if my memory hasn't failed me there. George Russell P4 ahead of Hamilton, and Pierre Gasly there, a very, very strong season finale for him in P6. Bottas, not quite the highs of Brazil last weekend, but he did beat out Checo Perez there. Leclerc down in 8th place, a disappointing end to what has been a phenomenal season there from him, ahead of Lando Norris, who did get that McLaren back into the points there. Means championship-wise, though, 448 points for Charles Leclerc, beats out the 411 scored by Carlos Sainz there. Max Verstappen P3 ahead of his teammate there. Both Mercs did hang on to 5th and 6th ahead of Bottas there. Alonso up in 8th place ahead of Pierre Gasly. Esteban Ocon, Zhou Guanyu, K-Mag. Then we got Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo there. Yuki Tsunoda with 3 points to his name by the end of this campaign there ahead of Vettel. Mick Schumacher, Albon, Stroll and Latifi all didn't score points there. Constructors-wise, though, 300 clear of Red Bull come the end of the year. It wasn't quite the 900 points that I'd hoped for later on in the year, but we got pretty close still, and I think 859 is still quite a dominant record at the end of the year. They're having a look at those stats. 20 wins, 21 races we were on the podium out of 22. It was only Monaco where we didn't get either car on the podium this year, and what a disaster that race was. 17 fastest laps, 21 pole positions. It was only Singapore that, of course, we didn't get a pole there. Hamilton snuck that one away. Red Bull, though, you can see 1 win all year, but again, 21 races where they got both cars onto the podium. Of course, Canada for them, where their cars came together there. Just 2 fastest laps and no pole positions. Mercedes, 1 win, 3 podiums, 2 fastest laps, and of course a pole. A very, very up and down year for the Brackley-based organisation there. Alpine did get another podium right at the end of the season, and of course Alfa Romeo as well got 1 podium on the board there. McLaren, even somehow, got a fastest lap point. I can't quite remember where they got that one, but yeah, that's going to do us then. The end of our Ferrari F1 Manager Career Mode. As always, a massive thank you to all of you for all the help and support. 12 wins, 19 podiums, 15 pole positions for Charles Leclerc this season against 8 wins, 19 podiums, though, for Carlos Sainz as well there. So both drivers very, very consistent, but it was Charles Leclerc that just seemed to have that little bit extra most weekends, especially when we got onto a Grand Prix Sunday. But like I said, we're going to take about a week away or so from F1 Manager. We're going to get, like I said, back into the Haas Road to Glory over on the F1 22 game. My team as well, of course, the F2 career mode. We've got plenty of stuff going on at the moment. At the time this video is going live, I'm still out in Switzerland, so a massive thank you to all of you as well that have stuck around and enjoyed the content whilst I've been away. But thank you all so much for watching as always, and we will return very, very soon with a new F1 Manager career. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.